All right, we've had time to catch our breath and move on to the other big story that's broken today. Home loans are all set to become more expensive. Three big banks today have increased their lending rates. That's the State Bank of India, ICICI, and yes, our favorite bank these days, Punjab National Bank. The SBI has hiked loan rates by 20 basis points, so that's up from 7.95% to 8.15. This is the first time since April 2016 that these lending rates have been hiked by the State Bank of India. There's some speculation that it may be to recover the cost of the higher interest rates on FDs, which had been announced. The Punjab National Bank has hiked loan rates by 15 basis points from 8.15 to 8.3%. The ICICI raising it by 10 basis points from 8.2 to 8.3%. Now, in all of this, the question really is the middle class getting taken for a ride? And the reason we're asking that is because over the past few months, we've seen a spate of decisions that have been taken, particularly in the budget, that have really made the middle class unhappy. Even when you had international oil prices at an international low, that benefit was not passed on to the Indian middle class. Please remember that. And we have seen oil prices, fuel prices going up over several months. Now you have a situation where you have capital gains tax on your mutual funds, for instance. You have that long-term capital gains tax. You have a cess on income tax that has been hiked by 1% in this budget. And now you have these higher lending rates. And you see all of this happening, and you see Punjab National Bank hiking its lending rates on one hand, and then allowing a crook and like Nirav Modi to basically get away, flee the country, get away and cheat taxpayers of more than 12,000 crores. So Parunjoy Guha Thakurda, is the middle class, and I'm saying this in the most polite language since I can't say what I want to, is it being taken for a ride?
Of course it is. That's like stating the obvious. It's like stating that the sky is blue. Look, what has essentially happened is, and this is the important part, you know, you can get into all the technicalities. Interest rates for those who take loans to build or buy homes, to purchase other, say, consumer durables like vehicles, two-wheelers, cars, they're all going to have to pay more in the form of EMIs or equated monthly installments. The point that should be noted, this is happening when the government itself is saying the economy is reviving.
Exactly.
This is happening at a time. In the past, there were enough critics of the government.
And you just had the GDP numbers yesterday.
You see, the banks were flush with funds because after demonetization, all this money went back to the bank. You know, 99% went back to the bank, which was supposed to be black money, or some of it at least was supposed to be black money. I'm sure some of the black money also was converted into white and went to the bank. The short point is, you see, according to the Central Statistics Office, I mean, people have doubted its statistics, of course, and I'm one of the skeptics. But nevertheless, if you go by the CSO's figures, the economy or the rate of growth of the economy has improved. Now, is this the time to squeeze or have a higher interest rate? Why? Because interest rates is not just for the middle class to buy their homes, to buy or take loans to buy two-wheelers or cars or whatever. It also has an impact on investments. And interestingly, this has happened at a time when the Reserve Bank of India has done nothing with interest rates.
So why would they do it? Why would the banks do it? I mean,
because the banks...
What are the reasons? There must be a reason for it.
Listen, because the banks are in a bad shape in more ways than one. Public sector banks, and State Bank of India is, after all, India's biggest bank. It's the one biggest bank in India, and we are seeing the biggest banks in India. Punjab National Bank is the second biggest bank in India. You have the ICICI Bank, which is the biggest bank in the private sector. All of them gradually increasing the interest rate. Why? One of the reasons is their non-performing assets, which is a euphemism for loans not repaid. Okay? And most of these loans have been taken by the big guys, the big business guys.
So that's even worse.
I mean the small fellows, the middle classes, they repay their loans.
Right.
Because they're scared that a bunch of goons will come and seize
them. Trying to recover that money or some of it by increasing interest rates on the middle class and their loans.
Absolutely.
So how is
but
that
the middle
fair?
class has always got squeezed. I mean, see what happened in the budget. I mean the
How
same
is that
story.
fair?
The government takes something with one hand and says I'm giving you something with one hand, then
does this negate though the increase that we saw in the fixed deposit rates? Does it actually negate that?
No, you know, on the whole, all those who are taking loans for purchase of homes for purchase of vehicles, they are going to be squeezed. Of course, they're going to be squeezed. They're going to have to pay more because the minimum lending rate at which banks loan money, that is now not going to come down. It's gone up by, a small proportion, say 0.2%, 20 basis points. Now, the point is here, the middle class always gets squeezed, and here again they're getting squeezed. But I'm also not just worried about the middle classes getting squeezed. What will this happen to investments?
Okay, so
we are not having investments. You're not having job creation.
Yeah, so it's a cascading effect. So Pradeep Bhandari, what is the messaging here? I mean, the banks have done this. We've already talked about the series of things that have happened earlier. Do you think the BJP is counting on the fact that they feel that the middle class will remain loyal to them no matter what? It may not.
See, I think there has to be a principal agreement across spectrum that you need more privatization in banks. The maximum frauds which have taken place has been in the public sector banks.
That's because public sector banks are the biggest.
The maximum NPAs are in the public sector banks. So the fundamental issue right now is with respect to governance in the public sector banks, and I think there has to be a broad consensus on how can we reduce or consolidate the public sector banks and ensure enhance the private sector banks.
Is the middle class being taken for a ride?
I don't think it is taken for a ride, but definitely yes, there are certain issues with the middle class which has to be addressed, and I'm also shocked that the SBI has increased the respective rate, and especially when the RBI has not increased the repo rate. So I think the SBI should issue a clarification, and this is something which will hit the middle class, especially the loan-taking middle class. But let me point out, in the past, there was a study that in the past 3 years, there's a study done by Mint that the maximum growth rate was in terms of loan given to consumers vis-a-vis the loan given to investors. So I think the loan that the banks were given to the middle class or the individual home buyers was increasing consecutively in the past 3 years. So this is for the first time, I think this will suffer a jolt. So I think you need to point this factor that the loan that the banks are giving to individual home buyers has been increasing as per any study you go ahead and Google in the past 3 years.
But this could get hit. You admit that. All right. So Pawan Khera,
one small point.
Yeah.
Let Pawan talk.
Yeah.
But I think my friend here is completely diverting the issue by saying this, privatization is the way forward.
Well, that's separate debate, and it's not necessarily the way forward either.
I mean, look. The public sector banks still have 70% of all the assets. So, of course, if they're going to be fraud, but this is not to say that frauds are not taking place in private sector banks.
Of course they are, yeah.
Global Trust Bank, Bank of Rajasthan. I'll give you 2 examples. There are many, many other examples.
And abroad as well. But Pawan,
I agree with Paranjoy. It's Lehman Brothers, if you remember, there was no public sector bank that crashed. The entire economy got crashed because of private sector banks in the US, and the government had to come to the rescue of the private sector banks, or the bailout package of Obama. Having said that, now yes, they said that demonetization has brought in so much of money that the RBI is still counting that money. So where is the problem of liquidity? You have the cess, you have, as you said, the long-term capital gains tax on our mutual funds and PF. Where is the liquidity issue here? Why does the government need to again squeeze in the middle class to increase its liquidity? For what? For people like Mehul Choksi and Nirav Modi to run away with our money? These are home buyers, vehicle buyers. These consumer loans are also the loans which get repaid very easily because everything is collateral. Your house will get taken away, your vehicle will get taken away if you don't repay. As it is, the SMEs were not being given money at all. And now this. So what is the strategy of this government? I'm sorry, even the best of your economists won't be able to explain it to you. As maybe Pradeep is right, maybe he knows something from within the government that there is a move to privatize banks. I hope he's wrong. I hope it's not happening.
But Pradeep, it hurts the BJP politically also. I mean, you don't see this as a political problem?
I think let's not get reactive. Let's wait for the SBI to issue a statement on why they've increased.
Well, it's done now.
No, I think because from the past, as I said, right, from the past 3 years, every home buyer, every vehicle buyer was getting loans, right? The growth rate
is this government anti-middle class is my question.
Sorry?
I'm asking you a provocative question. Is the government anti-middle class? Has
Absolutely
it become
not.
Has it become
Absolutely not.
anti-middle class?
See,
It got the middle class's vote, but is it now anti-middle class?
I don't think so. If the government was anti-middle class, it would not be winning all the successive elections from 2014, all the state elections. There, the middle class is in fact
This
right.
logic
so
is
I
strange.
think it's absolutely wrong to say that the government is anti-middle class. I'll count 10 measures which the government has done for the middle class, but it's absolutely wrong to say that. As I said, right, it's an economic decision. It's taken by the SBI. Let's wait for the SBI because the growth rate of personal loans has been increasing in the past 3 years.
Okay.
This was the first time.
Let me
right?
just ask Paranjoy about this. Is there some truth in what he says?
No, not at all.
One second. I'm asking you that because even in Gujarat, you saw that the BJP's urban vote remained intact. You didn't have the budget, then you didn't have all these other announcements that came and shocked people, but you had GST, right? And even in a place like Surat, the BJP did really well, where you saw huge demonstrations against the way GST was implemented. So how do we understand this relationship the middle class has with the BJP?
Two things. As my friend here is trying to claim that the middle class somehow, you know, it's the vote of the middle class which determines electoral outcomes. The fact is wrong. The point is Gujarat, unlike many other states in India, is more urbanized. Point. Second point, take Gujarat. It's the poor that vote in larger numbers than the middle class. So the government is more concerned about its quote-unquote pro-poor image than in squeezing the middle class. Second point, you know, to say that where he's right is by saying all along you've had a situation where banks have been flush with funds, particularly after demonetization. The Reserve Bank of India has been facing flack from whole lot of right-wing economic commentators as to why it is not signaling lower interest rates. The RBI even now hasn't signaled lower interest rates. But what is happening? The banks, and in this case the biggest bank, has increased its interest rate. And the others have followed suit, including your favorite bank, Punjab National Bank.
My favorite bank.
Now, the question is, why are they doing it? Because the bank's finances are in a mess. You look at the balance sheet of the State Bank of India, look at the balance sheet of the Punjab National Bank, they have been squeezed. And because they've been squeezed badly, they are squeezing their middle class. Because the middle class is an easy target.
Why should honest taxpayers have to pay for these scams? That's what we're doing.
Let's go month by month, right? Personal credit growth in January, 12.9%. February 12%, March 16.7%, April 20.4%, May 13%, 14% in June, 15% in July, August 15.7%, September 16.8%. So the banks have been lending at a higher growth rate every month to the middle class for personal credit, not to the investors.
So does the government want to stop that?
No, I don't
Even
think so.
if that's
Let's
correct.
wait for the SBI, right? It's for the first time that they've done so. Let's wait for the SBI to issue a clarification notice. Let's wait for the RBI to react.
But
why
people
are we saying?
People are paying for the mess that the banks are in because of these banks and because of the government and its mishandling of the banks.
I think
why are people paying for that?
There are two issues. There was a historical NPA problem which you had 52 lakh crores of NPA from the UPA side, which has to be fixed. So for fixing that, you're bringing in laws. You've brought two laws today, which is getting the auditors in check and also now seizing the assets of fugitives who run out. So you taking care of corruption in the banks. The number two is personal credit growth has been increasing.
We've taken care.
Right. So you've increasing, right? The personal credit growth is increasing. So what is wrong if the
Patel had been made Prime Minister, we wouldn't have had NPS.
Probably.
So come on. I'm trivializing it because I'm trivializing it because
I'm not pointing out the
excuse me, my friend, all your great growth rates will now not happen. That's precisely the point. And
so
the SBI what clarification?
Growth rate.
The SBI will not.
Please let me.
All right.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think there is a clear signal that the banks do not buy the so-called India story. This is a signal. RBI under this government has lost its fangs. It's lost its independence. You don't see the RBI governor come out and make one single comment, unlike Raghuram Rajan, who would just come and clarify things. You don't see that happening. It's another caged parrot like many other institutions.
It actually has turned into a cage parrot.
Absolutely. Yeah. And therein lies the problem. There are a lot of doubts the middle class has with these. And as Pradeep rightly said, let them come out with a statement. I don't know who will come out with the statement, what will be the statement. As of today, yes, the middle class is being punished for all the mismanagement of the economy. The Prime Minister has all the time to call up Trump even before the budget is before the budget. Sorry, may I?
Please.
Even before the budget is tabled, Mr. Trump knows what's happening in our budget. That's the situation in our country today. The Prime Minister of the largest democracy calls up Trump and says, sorry, we've reduced it by... What is this happening? It's a clear breach of every kind of parliamentary norm and privilege. And yet, we have accepted it. I don't see, Nidhi, even on your channel, I didn't see a debate on such
we had a debate.
You didn't call me, so I don't see any debate which I don't...
We had a debate on it just 2 days ago. It was our lead debate.
I'm sorry, this borders on anti-nationalism. Yet, anyway, we are.
But you go see that debate. Last comment, Pradeep.
Last comment that the personal credit growth has been increasing every month. I've stated facts.
But now we're talking about now.
Every month, right? It has been increasing every month. Let's wait for the SBI. Let's wait for the SBI. Why are you saying that once the SBI has increased rate, only once out of 12 months if the SBI has increased rate, you cannot call it anti-middle class because for the rest
But there are other things that have happened in the budget which are anti-middle class too.
No,
so add these up. You don't think long-term capital gains tax is a bad thing on mutual funds? Are you telling
that capital gains tax is for the middle class or for the rich which pays
No, everybody invests in mutual funds. Everybody puts their money in mutual funds.
Let's understand that if you are taking a profit, you have to pay a certain amount of tax.
Mutual funds
historically, committees have talked about capital
after this show. After this show, you will lose the middle class.
The middle class uses mutual funds to keep its money safe. You can't say it's the rich. I'm sorry.
Let's understand 2 points.
Mutual funds were considered a safe bet where you park your money.
I'm glad you are saying this.
I disagree with you. I think capital
I will let you guys argue this out later because I'm out of time. But thank you to all of you for joining us. I don't know if the SBI will explain why this has happened, but it has. And the point is, when you add up all the things that have happened, it is hurting the middle class, and ultimately how this plays out politically is anyone's guess. Thanks for joining us tonight. Happy Holi to everyone. We will be here tomorrow night as well. See you then.
Thank you.